Hey, everybody, welcome to Pink Shade. This is a bonus episode where I've got my girl Olivia Plath here to talk to me about the ending of the season of Welcome to Plathville. Olivia, how you doing?
I'm doing good. This is 2 interviews for 1 season, which I think is the most we've ever done. Like, this is a track record.
I could talk to you twice a week.
I could tell you a lot of things.
I know that you could. And guess what else? Now that you live in my area, maybe we will talk twice a week.
Maybe we will.
I was like, look, she's right by me. She needs a mother figure. I'm way older. We can make it work. We can
We
make it work.
almost have matching hair, like,
Kinda, kinda.
almost twinning, yeah.
I got to get my hair cut shorter. This last haircut I got, you know how you get a haircut and you're just like, something ain't right. I was like, is this a mullet? Like, what's happening with my hair?
I know exactly what you mean because my haircuts are always spontaneous, and so I'll post on my Instagram, like, "Can anyone fit me in tomorrow?" And,
Yeah.
I don't do my vetting situation very well because I just, like, I go to whoever has, like, last minute availability, so maybe we'll go find a hairdresser together. There you
Okay,
go.
well, I like the girl that cuts my hair. It's not her fault. Um, but last time I got it cut, I was about to go somewhere. I was about to go to New York for this big TLC trip. So I didn't want to cut it too much because I didn't, like if you get it cut too much. And so she barely cut it, but I should have been more like, go ahead and whack it because I need like an inch. But listen, hair talk with Olivia. I saw you posted on your Instagram in the last day or two. Somebody asked you about if you're going to bring the red hair back, and you said maybe.
I literally think about it like every other day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so fun. And it took a long time to like find the right shade of red. But once I did, I absolutely loved it. And then I remember how damaged my hair was coloring it all the time. And
Oh.
then I remember that because I'm blonde, this is my natural color, my hair goes back and I look like a reverse skunk. Like I glow, like I glisten in the sunshine with blonde roots. And I was like, TBH, don't miss that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm still on the fence. We'll see.
That's funny because your sister has that red color right now, at least on the show she does, and it looked great on her.
Yeah, she changes her hair color like the wind blows, and I love it for her.
Yeah, and she has naturally blonde hair too, I have
She
to
has like
assume.
very blonde, like very similar color to mine.
Yeah, yeah. Well, have you watched all the way to the end of the season? Did you watch the whole thing, or are you just dipping in and out?
I I don't like sit down and watch the season. One of
Mhm,
my friends like does like recaps of reality TV and
mhm.
she'll do that over on TikTok. And if I really want to know what a scene looked like, I'll just go jump on her live and watch what scene I want to see and like see all the live comments. So it's actually kind of a fun way to like support her and also, watch parts of the show.
I also do recaps of your show on my podcast.
I've listened to a few of them.
We're pro Olivia over on our podcast, just anti everybody else. And we had a couple of seasons where like, oh, now we're pro this person, now we're pro that person, but they all fell back to the wayside, unfortunately. Some of them way worse than others. Okay, so you are living in Washington, DC now.
Yes, when my lease ended in LA, I knew I didn't want to stay there and just trying to think about like where I wanted to go. DC is a city that I love.
Mhm,
I came here some as a kid, so like I was a little bit familiar with it, but it just has a lot of what I'm looking for.
mhm.
And I love that there's so many like places that you can be in the suburbs outside of DC, like Alexandria, Arlington, all these different places, and you're
Y
close to DC, but you're not like in it. So
Yes.
yeah, I moved over here and I got a 6 month lease on Capitol Hill just to like drop myself in the middle of everything and see how I felt about it all.
Okay, well, here's a push for Alexandria, I've already told you that, and Arlington is good too. I find Arlington to be, like, super confusing, I found Alexandria to be easier to understand.
I love Old Town Alexandria.
I know. I know,
It's
who
so
doesn't? I mean, it's amazing, and I'm sure that you never watched the TLC or the Darcy and Stacey when they were on, but they did take a trip to a hotel in Old Town. It was, like, during COVID, and they, had to do those, like, igloos on the street to eat and stuff.
yeah.
And every time I pass that hotel, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's where Darcy and Stacey
I've seen pieces of this show. I haven't watched
were."
the whole thing. There's a lot going on
Yeah,
there.
it's a ride. It's a ride that maybe you don't wanna get on. Um, okay, so everybody wants to know what is going on with the divorce. What's happening? Is it happening? Is it not happening? Did you refile the paperwork? What happened there?
I would love to know what's happening too.
Mm,
No, so I think I had told someone else this or it's online. there's these internet sleuths these days are insane, the things that they find out.
Yes.
But yeah, I had filed in the state of Minnesota, but I was living in California at the time and I wasn't a resident of Minnesota. So it was like filing through Ethan being a resident of Minnesota.
Okay.
And when we filled out the paperwork, he didn't want to fill out any of the financial parts of the paperwork. He was like, I'll sign it, I'll do all this, but I'm not going to put my financial information out there because it's like public record, which
Okay.
To be fair, I don't like that part of filing. That's like your whole life becomes public and people can dissect. Yeah. And he was like, I'm not putting that public and I'm not giving that to the government. And I was like, well, if you're not putting your financial information, I'm not putting mine, because It's not going to look like I'm the only person that made money in this relationship.
Right.
So of course the courts flagged it and we're like, nope, you got to fill this out to move forward. And I reached out to him to have that done multiple times. And eventually I got blocked. And nothing has happened since. So now that I've moved, when I lived in California, I knew I wasn't staying long term, so I didn't become a resident. But now that I've moved to DC, I've become a resident of DC. And once I've been here 6 months, I can just serve him papers because I'm now a resident and filing from here instead of Minnesota. And hopefully just get it all wrapped up because I'm about ready for it to be done.
I imagine so. And so let's go back to this. I don't want the government to know how much money I make. Okay, sidebar. When you file taxes, which you should be doing,
they already know.
They already know what money you have. So let's say, for example, TLC pays you. That's they have filed it on their end because they're a corporation, and then you file it on your end. And then also when he worked at the loading dock or whatever, that company was paying him. Does he not understand how that works?
No, and he files taxes. I think it's just like where he leans politically is more like anti-government, and he in his mind he was like, I'm not giving them a clear capsule view of all my assets and all my money and all these things, so I'm not putting that in there for them. I don't know any more of his reasoning. All I know is I said, if you're not doing it, I'm not doing it, because that would be stupid on my end.
Right.
So
but now the way it works is that because you're a resident somewhere and he's a resident somewhere, you can just serve him papers and you don't have to worry about all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, season 20, welcome to Plathville. Maybe we'll see it.
You know what? We'll probably see another conversation between Ethan and Barry, where Barry again says, you know what? Just hold out. Take all the time you need. No need to rush it. No need to file. She's just making this all about her. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's why we're not making any progress on our paperwork. Got it.
And those two aren't divorced yet either.
No.
And they said it's because she has said, but who knows, you can't believe anything that comes out of her mouth, but she said it's because of like property and assets and stuff. So maybe nobody wants the government to know what they own, even though the government already knows what you own.
Even though, yeah. I think also in their case, kids being involved, they both want full custody and child support. So that's like a battle of tug of war that like, who's going to win? I have no idea.
Only 3 of those children, the 3 girls, are minors at this point. Well, I guess Isaac is as well because he's probably not 18 yet.
No,
I usually have my chart with everybody's birthday on it, but I don't have it.
I believe Isaac is 20.
No way.
19 or 20.
He and I have the same birthday. Just fun fact.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I think he's 19 or 20 because Moriah is 22. Lydia would be turning 21 in a couple months. So Isaac would be 19, almost 20.
Okay. So there are only the 3, the little girls, as they call them, the 3 of them. They're fighting over custody of those 3.
Yeah.
It seems to be working just fine with them going back and forth. What's there to fight over?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not like they have to be in a certain school district or anything like that. Nobody goes to school.
No.
I
don't know. I don't know. There's some pretty strong-willed people.
Well, that's a great point. So, okay, a few questions about this season I just want to go through. So I saw you answer this on your Instagram, so forgive me if it's like a double. But Micah's friends that came to your house for that sex party, which, by the way, I was so uncomfortable. I was like, I don't want to see these things laid out. I don't want to see this like vagina. Like this is just me. I'm like a clutch your pearls Southern girl. I'm like, oh my God. Now, the friends that came over, they were so funny when they were on that season with Micah. They were hilarious. So I was glad to see them again, but people were like, "Oh, those aren't really your friends. They had already signed the release, so TLC just brought them back." But surely you wouldn't get three strangers into your house to talk about sex.
No, and you know what? Okay, I know I said this on my Instagram, but I'm so happy to say this again. I can't speak for any other cast members bringing friends on, whether they're real friends or not. Interesting situations, not mine to comment on. I
Yeah,
will say that any friend I've ever had on the show has been somebody that I've met and friended organically. And
yeah,
some of them, like, we didn't stay close friends after filming the show. Our lives went different directions. We wanted different things. Some of them I got closer to them after filming. There's also a lot of friends I have in my life who would never be on the show. And so it's not like, I don't have friends, whatever. But as far as like Micah's friends, I was in LA renting from one of the girls in that friend group. So I
okay.
spent time with all of them, hung out with them, was friends with all of them outside of Micah. And interestingly enough, when Micah moved from LA, everybody unfollowed everyone on Instagram and he hasn't talked to them anymore. So, I mean, take from that what you will. I still keep in contact with them. I went to Amanda's bachelorette party. Like, I still consider them friends. And when I go back to LA, I still see them and hang out with them again. So,
Yeah,
yeah, we're not like close. But when I moved to LA and didn't have a friend group, I was like, well, let me reach out to the people that I know that live here.
because you met them. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I met them. And then they introduced me to some of their friends. And I just kind of became a part of the friend group out there. So,
Well, it didn't look so great for Micah when all of you were like, "Have you talked to Micah lately?" And all of them were like, "No." And but I mean, they did 3 or 4 episodes with Micah, so it wasn't like we just saw him one time. We'd seen him enough to recognize them when they came to your house.
yeah.
Well, that's too
Yeah.
bad. It's you wonder if it is Micah just wanting to cut ties with that LA part of his life, or if his girlfriend doesn't let him be friends with them, or what the
No,
situation is.
it's none of that. I mean, I think that there are, and probably as evidenced by the show, a lot of people that come and go in their life, that
Mhm,
they like
mhm.
love for a short time, and then that person's gone, and then the next person comes, and they really, really like them, and then they're gone, and then the next person comes, and it's a pattern, it's a cycle.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Hayden's now wife Amanda, like they're great people.
The
Um,
Hayden and Capiche were so funny.
They're hilarious. And like there's even so much that doesn't even make it in a scene that me and my sister were sitting there and that was her first time meeting them, just like cracking up. Um,
Oh,
when I was thinking about, this season and what's happening in my life, what I want to talk about, one of the main things that was happening in my life was kind of deconstructing purity culture and realizing when I went to date again, like how much it actually affected me that I didn't realize. And there's a lot of like really heavy, serious stuff that comes with that topic that doesn't always
sure.
make it on the show. It's trying to present it in a way that people relate and understand without them getting like bogged down in something. And so hosting a sex party, well, it seems a bit unconventional and a lot of bit uncomfortable. It was something where it's like I was never taught sex ed in school, and most kids
Mhm,
are. No one ever
mhm.
talked to me about this. And if I have to learn about it, I might as well do it in a setting with other people who are also going to feel a little bit awkward, but that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah,
And we can all just kind of laugh at how it's awkward together and maybe learn a thing or two. Um,
yeah.
so yeah,
That little apartment in LA was so cute. It seemed tiny, but it seemed very cute and cozy.
very tiny, but very cozy.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's what you get in LA, I think. Well, speaking of, like, people kind of coming and going through your lives,
Yeah.
not yours, but theirs, Moriah had this boyfriend situation this season, and if you've not watched the whole thing, we talked about it the entire season. She's written these songs about this devil in a suit and tie, and then I remember in September, like, when you left me and all these, and then, of course, she wrote that circus song about you, and she's a real, Taylor Swift, burning it all to the ground, after relationships. And she had this boyfriend that she talked about how she kind of fled a terrible situation. And then it's alluded to that he was either married with a kid or had a serious girlfriend with a kid, and that she was like a secret girlfriend, but she didn't know she was a secret girlfriend. But all the time he would make plans with her and then not show up, or like, if you can't be outside in 5 minutes, we're not going, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Sounded like a horrible person. And so she left that situation, moved back home with Barry and everybody. And then what we see on the finale is the finale might have been one of the best seasons ever because something actually happened. Like usually nothing happens. It's just a lot of good, clean fun. This happened where Moriah sits down and tells Ethan that she sat down with the guy she hadn't talked to in 9 months, and he told her everything and explained it to her in a way that she could understand, and that they were getting back together.
Mhm.
And then Ethan, Barry, Isaac, Micah were all like, "No," and they weren't even, I mean, Barry was at least trying to be a little more like, "Hey, she's an adult and has to make mistakes, and this is not what we would want for her, and maybe she didn't wanna take a break from him, maybe blah, blah, blah." So they're trying to figure it out, but she's, like, running from them and hiding from them and getting in the car with them, and then the cameras are, like, Blair Witch style, like, running after the cameras trying to find her. It was insane, and my question is, did you ever meet this guy? Was he around when you were around? Because Ethan says on the show that this guy is the reason that she moved out suddenly and didn't pay the rent and all that stuff. And you're
No,
saying that's not true.
that's not true. No.
Okay, so what is true? Tell me.
I'll tell you what's true from my perspective, and everybody
Okay.
can speak for themselves.
Okay.
I never met this guy. I do know that when Ethan and I were gone in Europe, Moriah was like seeing several different guys, and I don't know how they overlapped, when they overlapped, all of that. I do know that this guy is the second person that has been blamed for the way that Moriah reacted to me and Ethan. First, it was her manager back at that time, and everything that happened.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Go back. Her manager for what?
She had a manager at that time,
Like a manager for her person,
like a talent manager.
A talent manager. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
and the blocking me and Ethan, the not paying bills, the moving out suddenly, the not communicating. There was a lot of other things that happened. Like her and I were going to the same bar school in Tampa,
right?
And they called the bar school and like threatened to like sue them if I decided to go there, and it was on camera. So many really. She wrote me the email about like suing me for stealing music, all this shit. Like so much happened, and 6 months later, it was like, well, my manager made me do all of that. Well, my manager is the one that wrote all those things. Well, my manager is the one who's responsible for that. And then a year later, it's like,
So
actually,
when you guys met in Minnesota, that's what she told you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, timelines are weird, but that's what we were told when Ethan and I moved to Minnesota. That's what we were hearing from everyone, was Moriah saying her manager made her do this. Kind of like when she unblocked Ethan, started talking to him again. It was like, sorry, my manager made me do that. And then a year later, it's like, oh, actually, it was my boyfriend who was a terrible person. Like everyone else is to blame for these decisions that I made. And I don't know exactly what's on the finale. I don't know what's going to come out publicly. I don't know what's going to be shown. But what I can say is that history is repeating itself, and there's no one to blame. Like,
yeah,
if you're going to keep making these choices of just cutting people out and villainizing people and like blaming everyone else, I don't think you can keep blaming it on the next person that comes in your life. So I never met this boyfriend. I don't believe he's the reason why any of that happened. I believe
I do because I feel like she's very, very easily influenced.
Yeah. I guess my only thing is like, if he was that terrible and he made you do all those really terrible things, like why are you back with him? And suddenly he's not the problem anymore. He didn't do anything. And I don't know what comes out in the finale again, but there's a new person being blamed, and this will probably come out publicly at some point. There's a new person being blamed for everything that's going on and everything that's wrong. And it's no longer the boyfriend. Now he didn't do anything wrong. It's someone else. So like, I just look at it as like history repeating itself, and I don't believe any of it. And I know my experiences, and I will not be convinced that they didn't happen by that family, but like, it's really not my circus to be a part of.
It's not your circus, not your monkeys.
No,
yeah, I feel like because she is easily influenced by a father figure, a boyfriend figure, any sort of male figure that would sort of guide her, she kind of goes with that. We saw that with her first boyfriend, which is understandable. A lot of people have that with their first boyfriend before they learned, I don't deserve to be treated this way, or whatever the situation was. Doesn't seem like she learned. And it's like, I say this all the time. Like, if you tell somebody your husband was awful to you, said these terrible things to you, da 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 da, and then the next week you're like, oh my God, you guys want to go to dinner? No, we don't, because you just told me how awful your husband was. And then you know what I mean? If you tell a girlfriend something, or a family member, or whatever, something terrible that your partner did, and then expect them the next week to be okay with that person just because you are. Well, no, now you've got in your head they were mean to you. So how am I supposed to forgive them? And it's always really tricky. It's like, be careful what you share, and I think Moriah has found herself in that situation. Like, she cried to get all the sympathy about this terrible boyfriend, and now she's like, but we talked for 4 hours and he explained everything to me, so now it's fine. And they're all like, well, it's not fine with us. You literally fled with the clothes on your back and moved in with us for 9 months, but now it's fine. Like,
Mhm.
no, no, girl, no. She's so lost, and it is so upsetting because at least when you see somebody like Lydia Plath, she's never wavered. She's
Mhm.
never wavered. She is who she is, who she is. She is who she is on season 1, episode 1, and she's the same person now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
they're on the finale, they're doing this thing where they're like all gonna sing, some together and some separately for this show that they're doing. And Lydia says, like, she's going to sing backup for one of these songs Moriah wrote. And Lydia says, I have to be honest, like, I'm very uncomfortable. Like, I don't like it. I only want to sing gospel music. I was like, look, listen, you may not agree with Lydia at all, but at least
And
she stands into what she believes and she hasn't wavered at all,
mhm.
And so at least she's got that. Whereas Moriah specifically just up and down and up and down and just like, I'll go this way, I'll go that way, like you said. And I will tell you, and I think I told you this last time we talked, I even referenced it today on an episode that I did with somebody else. I reference all the time what you told me about changing the outside so that you don't have to change the inside. And so
Mhm.
that's like with Moriah, with I'm going to do the tattoos. I'm going to dye my hair. I'm going to do a red lip. Now I'm going to be a biker chick. And now I'm going to dress scantily. And now I'm going to go back to the purity culture. And now I'm putting Bible verses on my Instagram. And it's all about what I've just seen it so clearly ever since you said that to me. Like,
Mhm.
people that are coming out of these things constantly change their looks because they don't want to have to work on the inside.
And you know what? A lot of times I don't even think it's a conscious thought of like, oh, I
Right.
can't do the inside, let me do the outside. It's just that it's easier to change the outside and feel like you're different as a person. And it's so much harder to question the foundation you've built your life on. It's so much harder to deconstruct your religious views because that deconstructs your moral views, which deconstructs your societal views, which deconstructs your political views. It's just too much for a lot of people.
It
And
is. It's a lot.
me and my cousins were actually talking about that this evening, where there's kind of a Y in the road where somebody either chooses security or liberation and asking questions.
Hmm.
And asking questions, you kind of have to leave security behind because you have to be okay with being uncomfortable and feeling like you've lost your footing and you don't know where to tether yourself. And security, there's a lot of security in someone like Lydia Plath being like, this is what I believe and this is what it is. But it does kind of close you off
Right.
anyone else's point of view or way of living or anything. And I see that mirrored in our politics today. I see that mirrored in our society. I see that mirrored in a lot of religious people. I see that mirrored in a lot of people leaving the religious society. Is that if you're not actually willing to like change the foundation, eventually you'll go back to that security because it's way too hard, feeling like you're floundering. And I think that when I look at the Plath kids, I'm like, oh yeah, in the end, the security won. The security
Right.
of this is how it's always been, and I can't question this because I need to belong somewhere.
You guys, it's my favorite time of year. It's when I get to switch my closet over from my summer clothes to my fall clothes. I really do love this process. Weed out things that I no longer wear. And now that I've discovered Quince, you guys, I've been talking to you about it forever. They have these cashmere sweaters. They are 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters. I got the cutest black cashmere sweater, and I've been wearing it on top of my Quince long silk dress. Also, they have a great leather jacket that I've been eyeballing. I have a black one, but I'm thinking about getting a brown one. So you're going to get those Mongolian cashmere sweaters for just $50. Okay? That's 50 to 80% less than similar brands. You know how they do it. They cut out the middleman. I've told you, when you go to Quince, you go to that little chart at the bottom and you look, hey, here's the exact same sweater with 3 other brands, and look at the price difference. Another thing I just bought from Quince, you guys, pro tip, they have the softest pajamas. It's cozy season and we are ready for it. You got your PJs, you got your cashmere sweaters, you got your leather over your silk. Ah, killing the game. Don't sleep on their shoes. They've got great shoes too. So those are the things I've gotten recently. And there's about 6 things in my cart right now. I can't quit. I can't stop it. Quince, I can't stop you. Get cozy in Quince's high quality wardrobe essentials. You're going to go to quince.com/pink shade for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/pink shade to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/pink shade. And please send me a DM and tell me what you got. I think that's really true. And we've seen that a lot with the Amish. And, if they leave to go on their Rumspringa, 99% of them go back. Because even though they had 1 year to decide if they want to stay in the Amish, even though they're going back to like no electricity, no, you know what I mean? A very patriarchal society, they choose to go back because it's the comfort of this is what I know and it's too hard. And it is. And people should be really applauded that they wanted to make the change and they stuck with it because it is what we've seen from you guys. It's really, really hard. And so ever since you sort of explained it to me like that and about the comfort of going back, because I think we were all so shocked that Micah and Moriah would sort of reverse everything they said. And all of a sudden now their parents are like the heroes in this situation, that it's so shocking to us that have been watching it and us not even being in it and really knowing everything. And you explained it so well about the security of it. It just was, this is again why you need to have a spinoff show where you help people because you're so well-versed in it and you're so well-spoken in it. And you could really say what somebody like me who never had any experience in this can really understand. For me, I grew up in a pretty conservative environment, but I'm not conservative at all anymore now. But I had that, I didn't feel that everybody in my family is going to hate me if we don't politically agree or go to the same church 4 times a week. Everybody in my family was like, okay, well, you just do you. I mean, nobody's mad at me and I'm not mad at them. We all just get along because everybody can be different and that's fine. So it's really, really, it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. Well, let me ask you this about Mariah's boyfriend. Do we know, did he have a wife and kid or did he just have a girlfriend and a kid?
I don't know if it was even like one of those. I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Well, God. Okay. So speaking of that leads me to Barry and Veronica apparently had a talk about you. Now this, when I tell you, I almost threw my wine glass at my television and went in the street and started my own revolt. And every podcaster I know that talks about this was mouth to the floor. We were all texting each other. So there's a scene in like 2-3 episodes from the end when Barry says he really likes Veronica. She's great. And they have bonded because in their lives, they have both dealt with narcissists. And Veronica, I don't know who her narcissist is, but then Barry says, Kim. No, he doesn't. He says you.
Mm-hmm.
You think he's going to say, that chick over there that I was married to in her mini skirt, drinking her margarita, walking around the pool, living with her boyfriend. That's the narcissist I'm talking about. But no, it's not. The narcissist in his life is Olivia. Yeah. Could you freaking believe that?
I had a heads up that was coming before it aired.
Good.
So I already had time to like collect my jaw off the floor.
Okay.
And make sense of it. Sometimes someone says something that's like wrong and you feel like maybe people will believe it. So you have to defend yourself and like stand up for yourself.
Of course.
And sometimes people say something that's just so wrong. It's laughable. Like you don't have to defend yourself. You just have to laugh because you're like, wow, who's going to buy that one? Very, very, very few people. Like,
or I also wonder if he started to say that it was Kim. And he's like, oh, shit.
No, he firmly believes it's me.
Wow.
Yeah, I will say that, like, I think that what Veronica said was completely uncalled for.
Let's for people that didn't see it. What Veronica said was that she had seen you at a family wedding. Yeah. You went to a family wedding. For the relatives of Minnesota that you were still close with. And Veronica went as Micah's date. And she basically said that you walked past her and like shoulder checked her.
Yeah, I was just going to.
Which nobody else in the world would believe that either.
So when I saw her say that, I was like, wait, what? The family wedding she was talking about was last year. At that time, Ethan and I were no longer together, but we didn't want his family to know.
Okay.
The family in Minnesota knew, but we didn't want his Georgia family to know because they caused drama. And we were
Hmm.
like, we're not about to have them bringing their drama to a cousin's wedding up here. Like, we're here to
Good.
support the cousins getting married. We're not here to deal with their antics. So we decided, Ethan and I together, that we were not going to tell his family we weren't together. We hadn't been together for a few months. And we were like, we're going to show up to this wedding as a joint face, get through this wedding. And then I told him, like, you can tell your family anything. Like, I don't care
Okay.
at that point. I just want to get through this.
That's a
Uh,
very nice and mature thing to do, to not ruin the cousin's wedding with your
I
drama.
shoot weddings and I see people ruin them. I was like, I'm not about to
Yes.
be that chick. So at this wedding, the Plath family, like the Georgia Plaths, they kept to themselves. They sat there on the table. They didn't mingle. They didn't talk to anyone. They just like sat there and like were staring at me, like shooting daggers. They believed me and Ethan were together, and they would like come up to where Ethan and I were standing and literally just like turn their back to me and just talk to Ethan. So I'm like ignoring them. I was like, they're just being rude and weird, and it's to be expected. I'm having the time of my life. I love the cousins so much. I love so many of their friends. I'm so well connected in Minnesota. So I was like dancing, having the time of my life, just like living it up as a wedding guest, because I never get to be a wedding guest since I shoot weddings. And when I saw Veronica tell this story, I was like, what? So I reached out to her after I saw that, and I was like, I am unaware of this story that you told. Like, what happened?
Okay,
And
good. I'm glad you reached out.
yeah,
Okay.
and she
And
told me, she was like, yeah, I was standing at the bar with Isaac, and you ran up to the bar to get a couple drinks, and you like bumped into me and then just like turned away and like didn't say anything. And I was like, okay. And I just told her, I said, I have no recollection of that. Um, I was on the dance floor getting drinks for people, running back and forth, like having a great time. I have no recollection of running into you. It was not intentional. I'm really sorry.
mhm.
I didn't know what else to say. Like, I don't remember that, but if I did that, then like, I'm really sorry I bumped into you. It was not intentional. No
Yes.
harm meant.
Right.
Um, so we're good there. Uh,
Okay.
I think Veronica's going to change her mind about me. Let me just say that without putting too much out there. She's going to change her mind about me. Um, and the tides are going to turn. I don't know what's going to be shown on this season, but I know that the tides are going to turn. And yeah, Barry doesn't love her anymore. So there's that.
You are dropping all sorts of scoop.
That
That
was,
is crazy. Well, I will tell you that you did a TikTok
mhm,
where you said, "I just wanna say I'm on a TV show with people that I don't like.
mhm.
They don't like me, and that is what it is. But even if I don't like them, I don't think people should be bullied."
Yeah,
And
no,
so I assumed that you were talking about Veronica, because I think Veronica had gotten, like, a lot of online bullying for her and Micah's relationship,
and how she
um,
looks.
and how she
And
looks, which she's a tall, gorgeous girl, you
yeah,
know?
I had left a few comments on TLC's Instagram when I saw some just like nasty comments that people had to say. And of course, everyone's commenting back like, stay out of this, Olivia. You shouldn't even be on the show. This is not your lane,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
refuse to be bullied by people in that way either, which is why I made this Instagram reel on TikTok saying, like, I don't even care if I hated somebody. I don't even care if somebody was terrible to me. They still don't deserve cyberbullying. And I got flack for saying that, of like, why would you make a reel just to trash people? And the reality is, because it's more poignant when I say it that way, of like, I don't even like these people and they still don't deserve to be treated this way.
Right.
Um,
Right, I think
I,
so.
I take a strong,
But then people saw the episode with her saying that about you, and they're like, "Wow, Olivia just put out a nice thing saying, like, these aren't my favorite people, but you don't have to, come at them for their looks or come at them for their relationship, and I don't even like these people."
and
And then she said that, and people were like, "Wow, Veronica's a really horrible person," whatever. I was like, "Well, first of all, these things were not this they were overlapping." So
yeah,
Olivia did that completely separately.
I already knew she was going to say that when I made that reel.
Okay.
Again, I already had a heads up she was going to say it on the episode. What I can say is Veronica was told a lot of stories about me.
I'm sure.
And she kind of freaked out and thought that I was a really terrible person because of all the stories that she'd heard about
For
me.
sure, yeah. Yeah, and
And
then she's like, "And then she tried to hit me at the bar."
and then knowing the Plath family, I know how important it was for Veronica to go along with them and believe that and join them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't join them, you are very quickly ostracized. So I've been in Veronica's shoes. I know what that's like. Yeah, I really think that, she's going to find maybe some more footing for herself, maybe a voice for herself. And I think things are going to change. I am just sitting back confidently waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think it kind of goes along with what you said is sometimes you don't have to defend yourself because it is so outlandish that nobody in the world thought that you shoulder checked her at a wedding. Like I was like, okay, that just didn't happen. Like that just didn't happen. Olivia is not the shoulder check you at a wedding kind of gal. At any place. I mean, it was nuts. So I've covered that because I really wanted to make sure that we covered that because it's kind of like a hot topic.
Mhm.
So okay, a lot of people have also said that it is wild that the situation with Kim and the DUI and the drinking and all of that has never been mentioned on the show. And I think that you said to me, and you've said otherwise, that they all decided as a family, if nobody mentions it on camera, then they can't talk about it on camera.
Well, it's not okay. I don't know what was said quote for quote between all of them. What I
Right.
do know is that when it comes to like filming reality TV, if you don't talk about something, it's not going to be aired, right? Like producers are not going to just say like, "Oh, and then they did this." Like if you don't talk about something, it's not aired.
They're not
I
going to say, hey, Kim, tell us about your DUI, unless like Micah and Moriah had a conversation about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because at
Gotcha.
the end of the day, we still have some autonomy over our lives and what we choose to
Mhm.
share. I know that when Ethan and I were gone in Europe and the family made like all the kids made that post about me saying like I
Right.
lied, all that stuff. And that was proven to be wrong. I know at that time, private conversations between the family members when cameras were around were that I had ruined the show by talking trash about their whole family. And Kim was so upset that she was like so hated, and it was all because of me and things I said. And they
Mhm.
all decided that they needed to protect her
Yeah.
from
It's
me.
wild. Yeah. It's wild.
That's what I know. I know if no one talks about something, it doesn't make it on. And
Well,
I'm,
makes sense. Makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
You see that a lot on our housewives show where they'll say, but you brought it up on camera,
Mhm.
meaning like we talked about it at lunch, but you brought it up on camera, which means now everybody can talk about it.
I do
Yeah.
know she was counseled to talk about it. It was this thing of like, everyone's going to find out about this.
Right.
You might as well talk about it and be honest and use this as like something to grow from. And it's relatable if you can be accountable.
Of
Um,
course.
so I know she was counseled to and decided not to.
Right. So she's still out there just slinging those drinks like that's the way it always was. Everybody else. And another thing that strikes me as so funny, Olivia, is how all of a sudden, all everybody on the show talks about is coffee. They talk about coffee like it's a brand new invention. And Barry talks about kombucha like it's crack.
It's
And you're like, people, we've known about these things for a while.
it's insane to me because when Ethan and I were dating, I've always loved coffee. I've always drank coffee. Uh,
Yeah.
when Ethan and I were dating, and I would come down and visit their family, and I would be like, "So, can I just like bring a coffee maker and make some coffee at your house when I get up in the mornings?" I was told
Yeah.
strictly no.
No.
No coffee was allowed in their house. I was told that it was like one of the devil's drinks, whatever,
Mm.
and I was not allowed to have it around their family. So times have changed.
I mean, they talk about coffee like it's going out of style. Um, okay, so last time we spoke, you told me you were not in touch with anybody in your family, but of course, Lydia Grace. But you did just mention a few minutes ago some cousins. So you are in touch with some members of your family, just not your immediate.
The cousins are all Plath cousins. They're all in Minnesota.
Oh,
Um,
those cousins. Okay,
it's
okay.
kind of like a joke. I guess some of the Plath kids feel like I stole the Minnesota family when we got divorced. I had honest conversations with all of them, and I said, "Listen, like you've been a huge part of my life. I love you guys so much, and we have really close relationships. However, with Ethan and I getting divorced and knowing how the Plaths are, I don't want you to feel like you have to pick sides or you're in the middle. If you need to let this relationship go in order to keep one with Ethan and his family, I understand. Like I would respect that." And
Mhm.
they all told me like absolutely not. We love you not because you married Ethan, but because of who you are as a person. And you're still our cousin. You're the honorary cousin. Like you're still a part of our family.
Yeah.
So yeah, the cousins I was talking about, Minnesota cousins, I still go back and see family there. I'm still quite close to them. I was literally at a wedding yesterday for one of the other cousins getting married. So
Oh, okay.
I didn't shoulder check anybody this time. Made sure I looked where I was going, kept a few inches between my shoulders and everybody else's.
Don't run off the dance floor to get a drink and accidentally take somebody
Walk.
out. Yeah.
Always walk. Yeah.
Always walk. Okay, so Here's a last time I asked you a stranded on a desert island question. So I'm gonna give you another one.
Oh no. Okay.
Okay. If you had to choose one person to be stranded on a desert island with, would it you gotta choose Ken, Micah, or Lydia?
Oh. Okay, these are not even the worst options.
Well, I had put Veronica, but now I think you're friends with Veronica, so I had to take her off. I had to think on my feet. Ken, Micah, or Lydia? No, they're not the worst options.
They're
No.
not. No, they lit. No, I could make use of any of those situations. Lydia, not the worst. Like, I'm pretty sure I'd be left to do all of the work to get us off because she'd be praying the whole time that we'd be rescued. But like,
Okay. Hmm.
at least you're not going to foil my plans. You know, I'm
Okay.
not going to have someone argue with me on how to build a raft or whatever. So probably be fine. Ken, uh, I can't talk about that. Maybe more will come out about that later. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Micah, he'll probably be too busy taking pictures of himself and posting them on Instagram, asking people to save him via thirst traps. So again,
Yeah.
nobody to foil my plans. I think that I could quite confidently build us something.
He would run. He would run down. He would run down your one cell phone bar that you had left to ask for help. He would run it down, taking selfies.
But you know, I don't need a cell phone there, so it's fine. I might just build a raft big enough for one. Like,
Oh, that's so funny. Something I just said about Ken reminded me another question I was going to ask you, but it'll come to me later. I'll text you. Okay.
well, we'll talk. We're gonna have another interview. Wait a couple months. Wait for some more things to happen. We'll have lots more to talk about.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about Brendan. Let's talk about the new guy in your life. We finally got to meet him the last couple of episodes. We got to meet him. You guys have gone to Arizona together, and Lydia Grace came over. Cute, and he has a dog walking business, and my daughter has a dog walking business. She's not excited about the competition, but tell me about him.
Yeah, I met Brendan working a wedding. He owns a pet care business, and that includes doing walks for dogs. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that they spend on their pets in the DMV. And so it can be, a pretty good solid business.
It
And
is. Yes, it is.
he was
Totally.
responsible for bringing the dog that day for the wedding portraits. And it was a meet cute. It was like raining, and we met for 5 minutes out in the rain bonding over this dog. And I thought there was like a little bit of flirty eye contact, didn't think anything about it. And I hadn't been away, Ethan and I had only been separated a couple months. I was not thinking about dating. And he filed that away in the back of his brain and waited a couple months and then reached out to me. And I was in a different place then. And yeah, I was up front. I was like, I don't live over there. I live in LA. This is long distance. I don't want to waste your time. And he said, it's not a waste of my time. So texted back and forth for a few months before meeting again and going on a date. So everything was like paced out. Even after going on a date, we didn't become exclusive for a while. We lived on different coasts.
Yeah.
And I had, other people that were like interested. And I was like, well, I just don't want to like commit too soon. But
Of course. Yeah.
waited a couple more months and decided, we wanted to date and wanted to be exclusive. So I have never been happier.
Okay, here's the question. So when
Oh no, you froze.
or are you living together now?
Oh no, when I caught the tail end of that. When I moved to DC, I got my own lease.
Okay.
Because I was like, even if we're dating and even if I really, really like you and this feels so healthy and supportive and right, if it's right now, it's going to be right in a year. Like there's no need to rush anything. So I got my own apartment here. We see each other like 2 times a week, maybe, mostly on weekends. But yeah, it feels like a good balance of having my own life and still being independent and have somebody support that. And then having a really supportive partner that I have a lot of fun with. And I love his family here. So
That's great. That's really great. I will tell you one thing that harkened me back. There was a few episodes back where Veronica was saying a problem she has sometimes with Micah is that if he goes to hang out with his family, like she doesn't hear from him as much. And I was like,
I don't know anything about that.
I was like, Twilight Zone, what? Crazy. That was crazy. I was like, girl, you in danger. Take your tall, hot self and find somebody else. Wow, wow, wow. Well, I'm very excited for all the scoop you have dropped here to tease us for what I hope will be another season of Welcome to Plathville. Like I've told everybody who will ever listen, I think it's the best show that's ever been on television ever. Even when it's boring and nothing happens, it's still so fascinating to me.
It's still
So
somehow a circus. So,
yeah, yeah, it's a circus, but not
So the
the
show
kind,
must go on.
not the kind that you've been accused of masterminding. I got to tell you, I see your wedding pictures and things that you do, and they're so incredible. And I don't have a wedding, but I'm always like, God, I wonder if I could get Olivia to just come to my house and take pictures of my family. I really don't think you do that, do you? You
I
really
do.
just do weddings.
I do. I don't advertise it quite as much because my workload would be overwhelming.
Right.
But I do shoot family sessions. Occasionally, I'll do like portrait branding sessions, headshots, things like that.
Okay. Well, now that you're close to me,
Yeah.
we'll
Text me.
talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk, neighbor. Tell everybody where they can find all about you and your business.
Mostly these days, I'm on Instagram. It's my handle, Olivia Marie Plath. Also, my website, oliviamarieplath.com, is where people can inquire for work. But I've been stepping into the TikTok scene a little.
Yeah.
Mostly on Instagram, though.
Yeah. Okay. Are you Olivia Marie Plath on TikTok as well?
It's my name everywhere I go, much to the chagrin of many, many haters.
People really have a lot to say about that. I got to tell you, something popped up the other day. Something's like a notification will pop up, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, and it was like something you commented on something. I was like, it was literally a reel I did from the last time we talked, which was several months ago, and somebody had written something terrible about you, and you just clapped right back, and I was like, whoa, this is like from 2 months ago. I don't know how you saw that, or because they tagged you, you saw it, and that was the day they got you at the wrong minute because you're like. Yeah, what did you say? You said, well, you should have a picture of yourself instead of an alligator, and then I could talk about how you look.
Oh no, he said something about I should stop dating soy boys and date real men. And he was posing with like a cartoon alligator. And I said, I don't know, I think you should wrangle a live gator instead of posing with a fake one, like a real man.
Yes, that was what it was. That was funny because he's like, don't you know that's for like, University of Florida Gators? And you're like, really, that's not the point.
And he was also like, I'm a veteran, which to I said, thank you,
Okay.
but that doesn't give you a pass. Like
You can be a veteran and still be an asshole.
Person.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so funny. Okay, everybody follow Olivia Marie Plath, and if you want to book her for a wedding, that's where you find her information, or just go look at her website because it's really beautifully done. I like to look at. I love weddings. Like to look at wedding pictures, and don't hang up. And you guys, welcome to Plathville. The season is over, but we'll still talk about it every week anyway because that's what we do. Okay, bye.